Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Patek Philippe Nautilus 5712R-001. You can see this red gold Patek Philippe Nautilus complication and purchase it on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch, with additional accessories included in the sale, high resolution images for your desktop, and actually complete pricing details for this unique variation of the Nautilus complication in rose gold on a strap. Now, it's unusual to see a 5712. I've seen more 5726 annual calendars than I've seen 5712s. Add the rose gold with the strap and you have a genuinely different Nautilus. In an era when everyone seems to want the steel 5711, this watch has more charm, more color, more character, and far more individuality. On my wrist, 16 centimeters in circumference, the 40mm case wears well. Now, of course, being a Nautilus, it has the winglets flanking both sides of the case, so effectively it is a little bit bigger than a 40. That said, it is quite slim, as if you measure the watch in profile, it's 8.9mm thick, in spite of the presence of the power reserve, the radial date, and the moon phase and automatic winding. That's courtesy of the caliper 240 micro rotor. Now, from lug to lug, I'm going to measure the watch the way you're going to wear it, which is not from lug to lug, but featuring the strap and the intermediate link. The intermediate link creates a little bit of stiffness, so if you measure the actual edge to edge dimension, you're going to find that the watch is a substantial 50.3mm. 50.3 is fine for wearing on a smaller wrist. I always like to say 50 is the threshold for wearing comfortably on a smaller wrist. You want to be at that or below that if your wrist is 14.5 to 16.5 centimeters. Again, mine is 16. Now, the watch is comfortable. The strap is a very substantial piece, and the double articulation born of the pivot in the lug and the pivot in the intermediate link means that you can pull it straight down around the curve of a smaller wrist, and I may as well show you. Patek spares no expense in outfitting this watch. As you can see, the strap is large rectangular scale, medium brown alligator leather. It has a sheer side that is beautifully substantial, and there is a slight contrast. It's a medium brown strap, but with a light brown stitch. Calfskin on the underside, you can see in a conventional beige coloration, and the clasp very deluxe. As you can see, twin trigger. You must press both triggers to disengage. It's not friction fit. There's no cheap closure mechanism like a clamshell. Beautifully finished inside. As you can see, every surface mirror polished. Another feature that I like about it is that Patek takes no chances affixing the clasp with a screw so it can't pop out of its slot. Again, an 18-karat rose gold screw provided, of course. Now, the case is simple and iconic. If you know the form of the Nautilus, you're not seeing anything new here, but we can get a little bit closer to show the details to better advantage. First things first, the finish is exquisite, executed by hand and laboriously crafted to include details like the hairline polished bevel that waxes and wanes as it traverses the case band. The satin finish is gorgeous. The contrast between case back components and case flank components is high, giving a sculptural beauty and form and character to the individual elements without breaking up the overall composition, which is the iconic collection of the parts together as a Nautilus. The winglets, as viewed in the soldier shot from straight on, call that the watch mug shot, define the flanks of the case and give it a little bit more stance across the wrist. The bezel, a clear link to what Gerald Genta was thinking about during the 70s, and you'll see the same thing on the Royal Oak and IWC's Ingenieur SL, but it's a combination of geometries, so hard angles and straight lines with rounded forms. It's almost like a rounded off geometry. You start with a hard form and you soften it with curves. Satin finished on the top, polished on the flanks. It has a little bit of a yin-yang quality about it. Now, you look at the dial and it's beautifully appointed. The dial features a dramatic gray-brown or black-brown. That's actually the technical term from Patek Philippe. It is black-brown. I'm going to say it has a little bit of a hint of chocolate to it as well, maybe bronze, but there's a sensational effect when you take the metallic grain in tandem with the linear striations across the dial. It has a reactive quality that's incredibly dynamic, almost like a sunburst. It's never the same watch in any given light from any two angles. Now, all of the indices are applied red gold to match the case. Red gold hands plenty of luminova. You will get a lume shot at the end of the video. There is a moon phase at 7 o'clock with a radial date. There is a power reserve scale. that traces the 38 to 48 hours of power reserve of the watch, and of course, as you wind the watch, the power reserve scale approaches its end point. The crown is a screw-down unit, and there is a screw-down case back, but because of the through-case fittings for the pusher adjusters for the calendar, the watch is rated to 60 meters rather than 120 of the conventional Nautilus. But Patek does have rubber straps, so if you do want to wade into the water as opposed to go jumping and splashing and crashing off your jet ski, this one's fine for surface activity, but again, make sure it's been serviced recently, and this one has, and make sure it's on a rubber strap before you do. 60 meters water resistant. That said, most people will never take this watch anywhere near water because it is so perfectly suited to use in polite company, as a dress watch, as an office companion on a daily basis. This is an everyday watch. If you don't plan to abuse your sports watch, I can easily imagine a scenario in which you only take it off for showers. So the watch has a gorgeous caliber. As I mentioned, it is based on the 240 micro rotor, and the 240 micro rotor is the more premium of Patek's two mainstream automatic movements. A couple of features of this one that are worth bringing to your attention. First and foremost, it features the older Geneva hallmark. From 2006, when the 5712 debuted, to mid-2009, when the Patek Philippe seal was phased in, you had the older, more romantic Geneva hallmark, or Poinçon de Genève, stamped on the movement. It's the same standard of finish before and after. Some simply prefer the old way for the romance and the heritage of the Poinçon. Now, the micro rotor, a 22-karat gold mass, allows you to have a completely open and visible case back. So maybe I can add a little bit more light so we can see this more clearly. With the micro rotor, you get the same field of vision that you'd get with a manual wind movement, but with the convenience of an automatic. You also get a slim profile, as the automatic system is in the same plane as the rest of the bridges. Now, the balance beats away at 3 Hertz, or 21,600 vibrations per hour, so it's a slightly slower beat movement to extend the power reserve to the 38 to 48 instead of the caliber 324's 35 to 45. Moreover, it features a Gyromax style balance architecture, which is the free-sprung architecture. You can see when the watch is not wound, the variable inertia balance blocks on the balance, they move in and out to change the moment of inertia, and they're used to regulate the watch precisely. You can see across the bridges a beautifully richly textured and aligned Côte de Genève. You can see the even and tightly spaced perlage across the base plate underneath the winding mass, and when I turn the watch flush to the camera and move the strap out of the way, you can see the mirrored anglage glinting off the edges of each bridge. Each bridge does have that mirrored level of finish done by hand, not machined. Cheap Côte de Genève is stamped. This does not have that. Cheap beveling or anglage is machined. This does not have that. Laboriously handcrafted. What you see on the back of the watch comprises a large portion of the added value that's invested in a Patek Philippe and comprises the final price. And believe me, it is worth the price of admission. If you buy this watch, you must also buy a loop of at least 6 power to properly enjoy it. But on the wrist, the sensation, the character, the stance, it needs no magnification. It needs no explanation. You feel it intrinsically. The watch will capture your eye. Yes, it'll catch your eye, but it'll truly win your heart. See it and find out why on our website. Patek Philippe Nautilus 5712R. A full-featured sports watch. You can see it has abundant lume, easy to read day or night. You can see this power reserve and moon phase, micro rotor automatic. Take it home on our website.